Hello and welcome. I'm Bob Lichter, and I will be interviewing individuals for Kenosha Voices, an oral history project for the Kenosha County Historical Society in conjunction with Kenosha Community Media. I am a member of the Kenosha History Center and have volunteered there since 2015. We hope that you will enjoy these programs. Okay, I'm with Larry Nelson, President and CEO of Bane-Nelson Incorporated. Hello, Larry, and welcome.
Hello. Hello, Bob.
When did Bane-Nelson get started in Kenosha?
Well, there's some history there. The family actually got started in 1900 by my great-grandfather, David Nelson. And it was a business called Bane-Nelson and Son. It was a moving company and warehousing, warehouse furniture and move furniture and even some small equipment, for different people. When we first started, of course, in 1900, we had horse and buggy. That's how we moved stuff. Horses, wagons. So that's how we started. And then, of course, as you go forward, we rolled into the trucks and so forth and everything. And then, as far as Bane-Nelson goes, fast forward. And then David Nelson became a Mayflower mover and stuff like that. So it was mainly houses and stuff, but we did get into machinery moving too during that time. And that got fairly big, so the family decided in 1965 to split away the machinery moving part of David Nelson and start Bane-Nelson Incorporated. And Bane-Nelson Incorporated was started by my father, Bob, Dick Nelson, one of his other brothers, George, and Dave, and by a fellow by the name of Al Bane. Al Bane had more of a structural background, and we had the machinery moving background, and so it was a nice marriage. And in '69, Mr. Bane passed away he was helping somebody, it was wintertime, he was helping somebody get out of a ditch and had a massive heart attack. So, but in his honor, we kept the name. We bought the family out, but we kept his name in our Bane-Nelson going forward. So, in his memory. So that's kind of how we got started.
Okay. How did you get started, and what was your first job?
Yeah. So how I got started. I started working in high school as a laborer, and so my first job there was I worked at David Nelson for a summer. I showed up and he said, my dad said, go down by David Nelson, they need help, they're really busy. So at David Nelson, my first job was unloading boxcars because the business is right on the railroad, and we used to unload paper for the Kenosha News, and oil dry for American Motors. And my first job was assigned, and I had no clue when I walked in what I was going to do that day, but it's like, it was a difficult job because you're working during the summertime that I went there. It was, if it's 90 degrees outside, it's in the boxcar when you're unloading all these bags, it's 120 in there. And then the bags break open, and because you're trying to move stuff and dust all over the place. It was an interesting job, but difficult, but it's like, okay, so like low guy in the totem pole always gets the, that kind of work. But anyway, so the next, after summer ended, then I went over by Bane-Nelson, and he says, well, I'm here, what do you want me to do? And our office manager at the time, my dad said, go see Tim. And I said, okay. So I went to go see Tim, the office manager, and he says, oh, okay, you're here to do something. Okay, I'll give something to do. Goes in the corner of his office, picks up a bucket with some cleaning things in it, and he says, go clean the bathroom. So I had to go to the men's bathroom and clean the urinals, clean the toilets. That was my job. That was my first job there.
Okay. So after that, what other positions have you held over the years?
So then, in high school, I went to St. Joe's, and I took some classes, and I took a drafting class with cards and
Yeah.
teacher cards, and I thought, I like this. You know, and back then, it's on the drawing board. There's no computers, there's no, you know, none of that. It's on the drafting board, and you're doing it by hand and stuff like that. I really found that interesting, so I ended up going to Gateway, take civil structural technology, which is, you know, drawings and a lot of things involved with that. Engineering, a little bit of engineering stuff. I went to Parkside then after that to take some business classes, and then I went to, along the way I went to Milwaukee School of Engineering and took some superintendent classes, you know. So I got a well-rounded, you know, background in that. So my first job, my job then was, you know, we started the building part of the business. We did machine removing, right, all the way through our business, but then we never really did any building. So when I came on board, we took on the Butler pre-engineered metal building franchise, and I was the guy who drew up drawings and worked with customers to, you know, what would you like? You know, well, I like a building this size. Like, here's what I want in there. I want 3 offices and this and that, and manufacturing. So I drew it all up. I would, you know, do a site plan, floor plan, elevations, and then show it to them, and then, you know, say, this is what you're looking for. Yep, looks good, or make some adjustments. I price it up. They give me approval, sign a contract, and I build it. And it was my job to follow it all the way through. So I was the designer, you know, of the building, and then the project manager to run the job and you know, and get the contracts out to different subcontractors and things like that to build it.
Okay. How many employees does Bane-Nelson have, and is it a union shop, or?
Yeah, it is a union shop. We have all different types. I mean, we probably have 10 or 12 different union trades that work for us, you know, operators and laborers, carpenters, millwrights, you know, the whole gamut of those type of unions. We run, it depends. At one time, when Chrysler was going and they were putting on those big additions, we were involved with some of that. We were almost up to 300 people. You know, that was the peak for those couple years because there was so much work going on there, and we run about 80 normally.
Okay. And how do you find your staff and keep them?
Yeah, so whenever project managers, you know, sometimes they come right from school, and we start them young and work them up. We've had some project managers start in the field as union employees. And then along, you know, as they get older, whatever, you know, they show some interest. They had some schooling, and then, hey, would you consider being a estimator, project manager? And that's how we got some that way. Okay. And by keeping them, you know, you know, you have to respect them. It's by respect, I think, making a fun place to work. You know, treating them like family. Treating them the right way, you know, salary and benefits go a long ways, but, you know, it's how you treat somebody, and I think that's why people stay. We've had people stay there for 30 years, you know, a lot of people. So, you know, I think that shows something.
Does the company provide tools and equipment, and are there work rules involved?
Well, there's you know, each union has their own little book of rules they have to follow with the union, and then of course we have our safety policy, and you know, so you know, there's that type of thing going on. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, and because some of these projects you have very large equipment, cranes.
Oh yeah, sure. So we
own
our own equipment, cranes and big fork trucks, you know, that move and pick up machinery. All the if you need dollies mean, you know, the dollies that you put the machine on, you can move it around, and we own all that kind of stuff. The personal tools belong to each worker.
With your group of employees, is there socializing, Christmas parties, picnics, anything like
Yeah, yeah, we've had, on different occasions, at our 25th anniversary, we had, a picnic, and then we just recently had a Christmas party. We do that every year, Christmas time. And then we have this tradition that goes back years. We give hams to everybody, and everybody, like, that's a big deal. They're the guys, but that's a tradition we do every year. And then we send out the Christmas cards. I personally sign all the Christmas cards for all my employees and send it to their families and things.
How did your business weather the 2020, 2021 COVID pandemic?
Yeah, it's interesting what you go through in life, right? and that was certainly interesting too. Well, we allowed people to, we were allowed to work because we were a contractor. And so we were allowed to work, to keep doing our stuff, because we had to keep plants open, because we work at a lot of plants, food plants and everything. So we were essential. So they allowed contractors to work. Of course, we set up a little. We had mask wearing and all that if you enter the building, and so we did that type of thing. And then we allowed our employees to. Some of the office employees to work from home if they want. We gave them the choice. And we set up a few at home with computers and things. Then, we tell the guys, you're gonna have no two people in a truck, one person only, so you're gonna have to take, as your own vehicle maybe to get there, or another truck. So we pretty much, we followed whatever the guidelines were at the time. If they changed whatever, we changed right with it. So we did manage through. The volume went down a little bit, but we still made money. PPP money they had at the time that they were handing out, that helped our guys keep busy, because if we had some downtime, we would keep the guys busy using that too. So it was a good program that they did.
How about technology? How did business change over time with changes in technology?
Yeah, so if I had my cell phone on me, I would show you the cell phone. I said, that's a big change. Back in the 70s, what we did was we had this little beeper thing, about that big. And, you clip it on your belt, and then if someone from the office wanted they would send the signal out, it would beep. And then you would have, wherever you were, you just have to find one of those old-fashioned payphones, stop in, put a quarter in, and go, what would you like? So it went from beepers to these big, long phones that you had, and then eventually the cell phones we have today, at least in 2023. But I kind of always fought it. I said, I didn't want the beeper. I said, well, just save my messages, I'll get back. But all right, give me the beeper, and then when I got the phone, I didn't. It's like, it was better than stopping at a payphone. So, now it's funny. You didn't want one at first, but now I can't live without it.
How about, as you mentioned before, when you were first getting started with the drafting table and the pencil? Yeah. How's that done now?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's done on computer, and I'm not that technology involved with stuff, but we had an architect then. When it got to that point, it's like, okay, so our architect we had, was able to do design on the computers and all these programs they have, and it's pretty cool. I tried taking a class one time at Gateway, and I thought, okay, I could do this, and then I found if you don't do it every day, you kind of lose the thoughts there. And I found out that, with the way I was doing, I could draw faster than I could type it. And so I did that for a while. And then as time went on, the architect just took over everything, the drawing part of it. And
how about, the business has been here for so long, world events, national events, local events, anything really have an impact on the the business?
Well, yeah, I mean, the recessions always hit us hard, when, whatever policies the government sets, and if they're trying to fight inflation, whatever, we had a pretty bad, recession, depression kind of for some industries in the 2007, 9 to 13, right? That whole area was not fun to live through. That's something that was out of our control, right? Something bigger caused that. So world events, you lived through those September 11th, when that happened, everybody was like, look, we had TVs in our building by then, and it's like, what the heck's going on? You just fight through those and emotionally, and right, and you get through it. But they do affect you in some way.
Okay. What's a typical workday like for you
Yeah, right now.
in 2023?
Yeah, well, I'm semi-retired, so it's just not as intense. But I'll roll in around, down to the post office, pick me about 10, and then go to the office, and I'll stay depending what the day's like. Talking with my project managers and our controller and stuff, going through stuff, and then I'll even visit job sites. There's one job site in particular I would visit once a week to see how things are going, which is our biggest job, and then I go home 3:30, 4, something like that. If someone calls during the summer, of course, golf season, I will. Somebody calls me up, hey, you want to go golfing tomorrow? I'll clear my schedule, and yep, I'll go. So that's sort of my summer. And then I spend a lot of time down in Florida too. My daughter lives down there, so I visit.
What were the most challenging parts of the job over your career?
Yeah. Well, the challenging part, I think, over the year was a couple different things, I guess. Working with different personalities when selling a building, or working with moving machines for somebody or whatever. Everybody's a little different, and you got to treat them different sometimes. And the same thing, you almost got to be a psychologist, I think, too, in a way, because even with employees, they have a bad day or whatever someplace else, and they come in and they say, okay, what's going on? What's up? So you got to kind of be that too, and yeah.
Okay. Do you have any interesting customers or projects that you'd like to share, or anything on?
Yeah, they're it's one of those. There's a lot of stories here and there, and the ones that sort of stand out. I had one customer that I met with and said, here's what I want. He had an existing building, and he wanted to add on because his business was growing like crazy. So I said, okay, I'll go back, figure it out, and I'll come back and let you know. So I would, I'll do this 9-page, very detailed description of what I'm doing. Here's the concrete, here's all involved, here's the building, this is what includes there, electric, every item that, put all the stuff in there. But anyway, I was nervous with this guy because he was very well known, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, okay. So I got it together, went to his lobby, sat there, and it was 8 o'clock in the morning, and receptionist said, just wait, he's in a meeting. And I can hear, the meeting going on was with his employees, apparently, his foreman or whatever that ran the factory. And a lot of yelling going on. It's like, oh my gosh. I'm thinking, what am I walking into here? I'm already nervous about presenting this, price and everything. And it's like, oh, gee. And then about 5 minutes later, all these guys and gals run out of the office into the factory part. And he says, okay, Roger's, ready for you. He's like, oh gosh. And then walk in and, hey, how's it going? totally turned off that, went into this, and I presented it, and it was fine. You know, he took the time, went through everything, looked at it. Hey, this is great, very inclusive. I appreciate it. Turned the last page, looked at the price, too high. You know, it's like, you know, they like to negotiate, you know, so you have to, you know, so we negotiated a price, and it was fine, you know. And then I had another customer similar to that, but nice long quote, handed to him. You know, I'm starting to go through the first page, looks at the last page too much. Didn't even listen to the presentation. You know, end up getting the job, but you know, it's just funny how different people look at things, you know.
How long would that process take? You get a customer came in, I'd like this type of building. From that point, how long would that take?
I always tried to get back with them within a couple weeks. I would tell them I need 10 working days to get something together. So I put it together, and then I would call them in or go to their office, to, whatever they wanted to do, and then I said, here's what I came up with, you know, and then we sat down, look at it, and say, yep, it looks pretty good, or you know what, why don't you move my office a little bit here and there and move a couple things. I would go redraw it, you know, make some, you know, the old electric erasers, you know, and then well, and then, you know, fix it up a little bit, turn it in, and yep, okay, great. Then it would take probably about another 2 weeks to get the prices in, because I would send the drawing out to the different subcontractors and say, here, prices up. I'd get the prices back, total the thing, you know, and then present it to them in that long quote I was talking about. So, I mean, it just depends. So you got a month there. It could take a month to 2 months, just depending on their schedules too, and how much you go back and forth. You know, I remember there was one technology that came up back in the early 80s, I think, because I used to drop everything off. If I had little sketches, pieces of paper, right, I would just like, okay, I'll get together and I'll just go drop it off to the guys, and a lot of running around for these little things, you know. And then one of the subcontractors, friends of mine, you know, when I dropped it off, he said, oh, I got to show you something really cool. You know, I said, what? Because you don't even have to drop these off anymore. I go, really? I said, what? So he shows me, you know, the new fax machine. So I'm thinking, really, this is really cool. So I went back to my dad. I said, Dad, we got to get one of these. This is really, it saves me a lot of running around. I can just put these papers right in. They'll get them within minutes, you know. Mm-hmm. You know, so right. I'm just saying, you know, I'm regressing a little bit back towards the technology, but that was a big thing at the time.
Yeah, well, things changed pretty rapidly
yes.
there over the last couple of decades.
Right, and that helps, you know, technology as it grows, computers and, you know, doing, you know, the Zooms and stuff like that through the pandemic. I mean, that got us through too, and that's all good stuff.
Are your clients and customers outside the Kenosha area as well?
Yeah, we're based in Kenosha, but we do work in Milwaukee, Walworth County, Lake County, a little bit in Cook County. So we're in like a little, you know, the Milwaukee, Chicago market. Once in a while, if a client says, hey, can you do something and move this machine to, you know, Germany? We actually did this. And we said, sure, that's fine. So we would dismantle it, box it up, it would be shipped over, and then we would send our foreman over there, maybe with one guy, and then we would hire a crew over in Germany and put it back together, install it. And we did the same thing with another customer that we went to Australia with. And I think that machine actually came here, so we had to fly a couple guys there and then install it here. So we don't normally do that, but we will travel wherever our customers take us.
So after 123 years of business and all the time and all the world events and all the changes, where do you see the future for a company like Bane-Nelson?
Yeah, well, I think the future's pretty good. I mean, even going forward, you have robots to move, to assemble. You know, the machines may change a little bit, but you still need an outfit to move those type of things and warehouse and you know, and do that type of thing. And always buildings being built. So I think we're set up good. I think the diversity of our company, because we just don't do one thing, has really helped over the years. You know, but one part of the company gets a little slow, the other one's usually busy. You know, and then, you know, with our company, we can build the building and move you in.
All
You know,
right.
so you know, I think we're well positioned. And I got, you know, as far as the future goes, we have my son's the 5th generation now of the
Wow.
original, you know, starting from 1900, and the 3rd generation of Bane-Nelson. So he's been involved for about 20 years. So he's starting to take a lot of stuff over.
Wasn't there you pointed out when we met earlier about your great-grandfather came over from Sweden, and he had a really unique job at one time.
Yeah, when he came over, he was the coachman for Simmons.
Salmon Simmons.
Yeah, and so, you know, he did that for a few years with him, and then you know, he encouraged my grandfather to start his own business. He said, you know, you got a lot of talent here. You don't need to be doing this, you know, all your life. You know, you need to, you know, and he encouraged him to get into this business.
Okay.
So with, you know, as the story goes, you know, with his $50 and whatever, and he starts the business, and
Wow.
it grows from there. And you know, we have a picture that shows, in the, you know, the original horses and wagons and whatever, and you know, my great-grandfather's in it, and it's my great-grandmother's in there too, you know, and it's a nice, it's a lot of history. It's a cool thing.
Okay, thanks, Larry, and on behalf of the Kenosha History Center and Kenosha Community Media, thank you for participating in the Kenosha Voices program.
Glad to do it. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you.